Books, books. I like books. I'm gonna read them all.
Hi readers, Chris here. Welcome to my channel where I review fantasy, Stephen King, all sorts of books, and it's getting down to the end of the month, but I could not end the month without talking about my latest Stephen King read, The Dark Tower. This is the 7th and final book in the Dark Tower series, and oh boy, was this series a doozy. And I have some mixed feelings on this one. I'd say overall, I liked it. I think that as a conclusion to like this whole epic tale that's been going on, it is satisfying for the most part. But this book does have a very controversial ending, which of course I'm going to try to talk about without spoilers. But if anyone does want to talk spoilers, let me know. Maybe I'll make a separate video just for that. So my super quick 60-second setup is that basically we have this guy, Roland. He is known as what is a gunslinger. And basically he comes from like a place that no longer exists. And he's been wandering, searching for this dark tower that is supposed to be the nexus of all universes. And along the way, he has picked up some friends that come from like different timelines, different dimensions, all sorts of crazy stuff in here going on. And at this point in the story, him and his friends have been through quite a lot. And yeah, I'm not going to say much more than that because that's really all you need to know. No matter how much I might love other characters like Susanna that I've talked about in previous videos, or Eddie or Jake, at the end of the day, like, Roland is the center of the story. You know, Roland is the tower of the story. He is the nexus which everything floats around, which I actually have never thought about until right now when I just said it out loud. And I think that's kind of really cool. So again, that's just something that like Stephen King does. He always has these metaphors. So yeah, Roland, his character, is the nexus by which everything else kind of floats around. So this really is his story. And by the time that Roland gets to the end, by the time he gets to the end of his journey, like it is really all about himself alone. And like when he gets to the quote unquote tower, this book has never been really clear about like what he will find there, other than, again, it's the nexus of all universes. What the heck does that look like? Like, what does that really mean? The book, like, the series has never really explored that. So when we get to this one, it's like, okay, what does that mean? And I think what it means is open to interpretation. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. So right now, again, I just want to focus on Roland as a character. In the beginning of the series, he does come across as someone that's very like cold almost. He in the very beginning of the series, like it's not that he doesn't care about what happens to others, but he's so driven by the Dark Tower that like nothing else matters. Like he's willing to make tough choices if it gets him closer to his goal. And I think that by the time we get to this book, even though like that's still kind of true, but I still feel like he's evolved. I feel like he's evolved a lot, and especially like emotionally, because of all the time that he spent with all of these other characters, what they call his quartet, his group. I feel like he has like grown emotionally, and I think it's really cool to see when characters actually do that. Now, regarding the other main characters of the series, I think it's one of those things that's like, it's really up to you as the individual how you feel about each character's specific ending, right? Again, it's one of those books that's kind of open for interpretation. So let's jump into that a little bit. So without going into specifics, the ending of this book, the ending of this series is open to interpretation. And honestly, like when I first read it, I thought I had a pretty good understanding of like what was happening, what was going on. But then I went online, I went on Reddit to see what other people thought, and I very quickly realized that most people had a completely different take than I did. And then I was like, am I wrong? Like, did I totally misread that? But again, as I looked further into it, I see that there's a lot of debate and a lot of back and forth on what the end of this book could possibly mean. Again, without going to specifics, there are theories that there's time travel involved. There's theories that there is like dimension hopping involved. There's theories that there's alternate realities involved. Yada, yada, yada. I didn't see anything. I didn't take it as being like that complex, though. I took it as being like slightly simpler. And again, it's hard to talk about it specifically because I don't want to give away spoilers. It's literally the end of this whole series, but I took it as like the very simple, basic ending. Apparently, that's not what other people think. So again, I would love to know. If you want to comment about it, please mark it spoiler in the comments. I would love to know what other people think because I feel like I can't be the only one that thought that way, even though it may not be the most popular theory. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's really hard to talk about this book without spoilers. It just is. So I'm sorry if I'm not being very helpful or very vague. But if you've made it all the way to book 7, like, you already know if you like this series or not, and you're in it for the long haul. So if you enjoyed at least The Gunslinger and The Drawing of Three, yeah, you're gonna like this book. Is the ending going to annoy you? It might annoy you. It might. It's, I think it's one of those things that it's just really going to depend on the person and each individual. I really do. It's one of those things. If you've ever seen a Christopher Nolan movie and you know how sometimes the endings are vague, like that is what you are getting here. So if you like your stories wrapped up in bows, stop now, run away. No, I'm just kidding. Like, normally I am that type of person. I do like my story tied up in bows, and this end of this one didn't bother me. But again, it didn't bother me because I assumed I understood it. Now I'm not so sure, but at the time I was like, okay, I can accept that. So anyway, I know that was super vague, and now I'm rambling, and you're probably thinking this makes no sense, but yeah, those are my final thoughts on The Dark Tower. I really enjoyed this series. It's ups, it's downs, it's wackiness, it's craziness, it's Stephen Kinginess. I enjoyed it all. Yes, there were some parts that, whatever, I struggled with. But overall, I think this is an amazing series. I can tell why, King considers it like one of his masterpieces. It's not my personal favorite of the King books, I will say that. But you know what? He's written so many, they can't all be my favorites. But it's definitely like a solid read. So that is it for me today. And now I want to know from you. Have you made it to the end of The Dark Tower? If you haven't, have you ever read a book with an ambiguous ending? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments section below. And as always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel for more bookish stuff coming your way soon. All right, everyone, happy reading.